nobody that lives on the street is having fun. It's pure hell for each person, so much so that no one ever talks about life.
They see you with one backpack and they notice you. They see you with two and they start to stare. Push a shopping cart around and they will go miles around you to stay away from you. People just really look down on you and they think that you're criminals and you're drug addicts. It's not like that. It's not true for so many of us out there.
There's a variety of different ways that people become homeless. Mainly what I've experienced through so many relationships with people that have been is that they reach a point where they've lost relationship with other people that would sustain them. Burning bridges, having maybe toxic people even if they didn't burn the bridge, or they've walked away out of shame or fear or guilt or addiction and tried to manage life on their own. And mental health being pervasive as well. There are exceptions. There are many stories where people's homelessness is not necessarily a result of them making bad choices, but there's often things have happened in their life from an early age. They've been given bad blueprints and they run with those blueprints because that's all they know. Every individual, right, has a unique story.
My parents taught me really how to be a good work ethic, which I really enjoy today. All the rest they taught us was just drugs, alcohol, and crimes. So after 30 years of this, I've been in trouble myself, running across the country, escaping from everything, never stopping long enough to even know anybody. And now I'm just putting myself back together. It's been really hard. I mean, my family just really screwed me up for a long time. And today I'm just learning who I am.
If you're looking at the social and spiritual, physical, psychological, and material aspects of what poverty is, then it's one or more of those areas lacking in wellness. And when you get to a point that you're on the street, or you get to the point where you're coming into the mission, there's aspects that are being affected in all areas of your life to an extreme, not just it's been a difficult week or gosh, this was a rough month or a year, but it's often a minimum of 10 years where things have been in digression.
The mission's been operating almost 100 years in this community and has seen kind of the shifts and the morphing of the need of homelessness and has adapted to respond to it the best way possible. We find folks that come through our doors experiencing different types of poverty. Some are intermingled, but the main ones are the poverty of circumstance, the spiritual poverty, and the poverty of community, the circumstantial, for example, where life has kicked you in the head and you're now in a rough spot and you need some support to get better. Sometimes it's economic stuff, but that's a lower tier issue and actually relatively easy to resolve. But if you're just addressing the roof over someone's head or food in their belly, which are important things, if that's it though, you're not getting at the core of somebody, what it means to be a human being. There's a spiritual poverty that a lot of people carry that affects their sense of identity and their sense of calling in life. They don't see themselves as a child of God. There is this real belief, like I'm just a scoundrel and I have nothing to offer and I'm a waste of breath. I'm a mistake. There is that belief. And reversing that is a part of reversing that type of poverty.
Just one morning I woke up in my van and I thought, what in the world am I doing? What's going on here? I'm living in a van, I'm making bad choices, I'm condoning others' bad choices. It was kind of like a moment of clarity, and I did some soul searching and praying and realized that I didn't have the answers. I had to do something, or I was just going to spiral down some more.
Another type of poverty is the poverty of community. That's where you have lost all the relationships that matter most to you, that are the supports in your life that offer a sense of connection. And people find that in the workplace, they find it in church, they find it in their volunteerism or their hobbies. People find that. But when you're on the street, those have all burnt down. And the worst of human emotion actually is loneliness, right? That's the worst thing you can feel. And everyone knows that poverty on some level. We all carry them in some way or another. It's why we can connect and see ourselves in the person on the street.
The downward spiral, so to speak, of when our world is not secure in these three key areas. And as a result of that, a lot of our guests, they continue to look for safety, but in essentially, like the old saying goes, they're looking for love in all the wrong places. They keep finding unsafe people, unsafe communities. And despite your circumstances, or in spite of your circumstances, how do you find a place where you can spiritually become connected to God and others in a way that is unfamiliar to what you've been familiar with?
We really push hard to address those underlying issues. Truly, what's driving these things in a person's life, and let's help them get to a place. Let's walk alongside them. Let's help them discover for themselves what the needs are and how they can address these things and how we can be a support. Resolving that spiritual poverty, resolving that community poverty, resolving those circumstantial poverties, those are where a life starts to transform and have a ripple effect of impact in a community. It's where a city changes, when people are getting their kids back and getting back in the workforce and becoming good tenants and good employees and these kinds of things. That's where hope really begins. Getting that hope that things can be different.
When you're homeless and you're stuck in an addiction or a mental psychosis out there, you look like death, okay? I mean, I got holes in my shoes. I haven't showered in 2 months. I can't go to DSHS. They look at me and they send me out. I walk in stores. They're following me around, making me feel even worse about myself because they're like, oh, what's he about to steal? And so many people want to shun you away.
People will ignore me, just pretend they don't see it. Probably only once every few days will somebody angrily, shake their fist at me and go get a job, you bum. At first it's humiliating, but then it's not. Just like digging in a garbage can for food, I don't care. And if I'm hungry, that's what I'll do.
When I was on the streets of Bellingham, how I lived through it was a miracle. But I was always filthy, dirty, never showered, fighting every day, drunk every day. Someone stole my dirty laundry and I quit changing my clothes, I was just hopeless.
This was my last resort. Before I checked in here, I had nowhere else to go. There was no other options. It was either this or under a bridge. November 19th was the day I checked in here.
Folks living outside rough and ready, that fight, flight, or freeze is kind of their three options when their worlds are collapsing. There's this layer of thickening around their character where they're not going to let people in. Trust is hard won. And as that continues, those survival instincts work against you.
It takes some nuance to enter into the mind of somebody that is so hypervigilant and so distrustful of institutions, can't trust the police, can't trust the hospital, can't trust the mission because it's a big organization or these kinds of things, and really trying to enter into their lives in a state of friendship and no strings attached engagement. So our outreach programs that the mission offers, we have our scooters that are going out. We call it Joyriders. Scooters are going out with coffee backpacks and engaging people in the downtown area. We have our shower trailer that's offering showers in the community as well. We have a van that goes out called Street Connect to engage folks that are in encampments. It's sandwiches, it's a blanket, it's toiletry kits, it's relationship building opportunities for people.
With guests that are living out on their turf, we're coming to them and we're asking, could we be invited to meet with you? Would you accept us? Would you trust us that we're here with good intention? That's a different kind of ministry. It's a different kind of trust building even. There's a level of humility that our staff have to take on to reach out into places where we're not necessarily invited.
I spend quite a bit of time out in the camps just building the relationship from the first minute I meet to helping them with supplies and just making sure they're okay and just say hi. I mean, a lot of the times people just want other people to care. My faith is definitely part of every day. There's a lot of people out there that might not have the same beliefs as me, might not believe in Christ, but I just want to show them that minute of love and friendship and just letting them know they have a place to be. A lot of it is just showing up every day, or 2 or 3 times a week, just being a consistent pace in their life and giving it time. It'll take people weeks, months, even years for them to feel that I'm a trustworthy person in their life.
The outreach van has been an incredible influence on us.
Just did wonders for us. And if it wasn't a clean pair of socks,
dry bedding,
tarps, tents, whatever we needed, they got it for us.
He never tired, and he would always find us 2-3 times a week, make sure that we were okay. Yeah, if it wouldn't have been for him, his love and his persistence, who knows?
Yeah, they did a lot for us. I mean, I was a stubborn one. I didn't want to come inside, but I knew I had to get her out of the elements, out of the weather. And the outreach team finally talked me into it. We came down around Halloween.
That point when somebody wants to come in to base camp and leave their camp or the doorway wherever they're staying it is a feeling that just makes everything worth it.
Well, the slogan is reach out and invite in, and I think our outreach department does a great job of doing that. Then when someone is ready, if they're ever ready to come to base camp, chances are, hopefully, they're going to see a face that they maybe already have seen and be able to at least feel that much more comfortable walking through the door, or that staff member going outside to chat with them more about what it looks like to be at base camp.
Our base camp is meant to meet basic needs and get people in the door and starting to move forward in their recovery in some way. So it's beds to sleep on, it's 3 meals a day, it's all the other service providers in the community coming in and engaging our people on site. That kind of stuff is really important. And if we didn't have it, if we were just a solitary, isolated little operation, we wouldn't see the success and transformed lives that we see.
We have a lot of help from outside organizations and agencies. We have Northwest Youth Services, Opportunity Council. We have amazing friendship with the police department and the paramedics, community paramedics come in, and they will treat any people that need help. Man, we have a relationship with everybody. And so to come and get help at base camp is definitely, you can have all your needs met for sure.
It's really difficult for people, whether they're coming from a tent or a doorway or their own apartment. I think oftentimes there's a challenge with a bit of shock, right? When someone first comes into services with us and how everything is structured and maintained by staff. But also having 200 personalities in one building, it can be a challenge, but we really have worked to create a culture of community there.
Folks on the street feel so not wanted. No one wants to look at them. And to be able to have a space for somebody to feel wanted and a sense of belonging. You don't have that pain of the loneliness. You have connection, and you really create wholeness for somebody. You gotta create an environment of connection.
There's a lot of great people that are all working together. You know, it's a family atmosphere. A lot of friends are made for life, and it's just good to be around people that are all kind of working for the same thing. They look out for each other, they protect each other, and they take care of each other. I think the biggest thing that I want people to know is that no matter what is going on in your life, no matter the dark places you've been, no matter your story, that we are there for you, and we love you, and you're welcome to come to base camp.
I hit the streets pretty early in life, around 15 years old. Along with that, came a lot of issues, substance abuse, violence. In my younger years and even out on the streets, there was some sexual abuse, and those were my traumas. All those traumas and the alcohol abuse and the drug abuse is what led me to the Lighthouse Mission.
Me and my dad were close, and I took care of both my mom and him till they died. They both died in my arms. I was sitting on the bed and we lifted him up, and he was right here when he died, on my chest. I could just feel his spirit just go.
When we experience trauma as humans, our brain creates all these natural defense mechanisms to cope with that. Trauma is a part of everybody's story that we see here. Everybody has their own unique set of trauma and just risk factors that have gotten them to where they're at today. And so when they come to us, we're trying to teach them healthy ways to cope with things that happen in life rather than destructive patterns that they've relied on in the past.
A lot of our staff are trained in trauma-informed care, nonviolent crisis interventions, de-escalations, things like that. Because a lot of times when someone comes through our door, they're having either the worst moment, the worst week, or the worst month of their life, and oftentimes are trying to negotiate some kind of crisis.
They have recent trauma from living on the streets, physical assaults, sexual assaults, emotional. And then there's also trauma that people have experienced for years and years and years. Things that maybe people don't even categorize as trauma, or things that it happened so long ago that there's not the thinking that it impacts them anymore. But for many of our folks, when you start digging in and you start hearing people's stories, it is years and years of hurt and relational brokenness that comes up.
My stepdad and my birth mother were both addicts. Their way of being able to get high over the weekends, I remember of being 6, 7 years old, they would lock me in the attic for the weekend. They'd give me a loaf of bread and a gallon of water. At the age of 15, I lived on my own, completely on the street, to get away from the abusive parents that I had. Found myself working with gangs or selling drugs, using drugs. It helped me to escape the reality of my own life. That was the only way I knew how to survive, or I thought I knew how to survive.
When our guests come in with abuse or neglect, drug and alcohol use, or toxic relationships, letting go of that hypervigilance takes time. That's a lot of what we're doing with our guests, is we're attempting to seek the gift of time if they would stay. If they would be willing to stay, then we can work with time to create a loving, safe environment for those traumas to be better understood, and then providing them good education and counseling and assistance, both within the mission and outside of the mission, to address those issues.
The Ascent program is an evidence-based long-term residential recovery program where we combine biblical teachings with evidence-based practices to create a holistic approach to mental health and substance use recovery. We have a staff of 2 chaplains and 5 case managers that just walk alongside these guys as they're learning how to do this. The tools, we use the 12 steps, and we use the Genesis process. There's 10 processes that deal with all these underlying issues that really are the root causes of substance use disorders. A lot of times when people are going through this process, they always come in just so closed off because they've been all about self-preservation. Slowly but surely, they start to break down and shed all of those unhealthy and unhelpful defense mechanisms that they have, and they open up and they start to actually want to look within. Like, what is going on over here, because that's where I can make a difference.
In the program, I let my walls down completely. I still had, reservations. We'd keep going down to more internal wounds and like deeper stuff and more scary stuff. But I was willing to try a new way of life, do it God's way, not my own. My life's a blessing now today because I'm not living in my will. I get to, and I get to give back what's given to me.
The Agape Home is our women's recovery program. Around 50 to 60 women and children stay on any given night. Agape Home is a pretty special place. Those women are so brave. The fact that they are choosing hope, that they are choosing recovery is just courageous, especially after the amount of trauma that for many of them they've experienced for years and years heading up to their time at Agape. For women on the streets, oftentimes it's kind of a given that in order to survive or to be safe, that you need to find oftentimes a man or someone that's going to stand up for you. And so when I've done outreach work, there's oftentimes women that have talked about, oh yeah, I definitely offered myself to men in order to be safe, in order to have housing, in order to stay in their tent, in order to be somewhat safe for that night. We know the vulnerability that people that are specifically women have out on the streets. While at Agape and our men's program, we offer things like intensive case management with caseworkers, where people are working on goal plans and addressing the holistic self. Anything from like finding an AA meeting to go to finding a church, or getting connected with somebody to help them with financial literacy, a Wacom Dream, and budgeting. And then that bleeds into our classes that we offer. So we offer about 8 classes a week, and they range anywhere from boundaries and forgiveness and Christianity 101 to conflict resolution to life skills and time management. And so this whole range of classes that people have to choose from kind of aids in that healing process.
I actually stayed at Agape in 2010. I was both fleeing domestic violence and suffering from substance use disorder. I was able to, for the first time in a really long time, have a safe and secure place that I could stay while I started to reach out and figure out what were next steps for me. When I first started working for the mission, people would say to me, "You just don't understand what it's like to be homeless." And I get to say, actually, I do. And then that just cracks open a conversation with people. We're all at a different place in our journey. I feel like the importance of just being able to meet someone where they're at and see how that we can support them in that.
Because homelessness is not a one-size-fits-all, there's not really a ideal timeline for somebody's healing journey. Some people like to think, after 30 days in a program, after 90 days in a program, somebody's good to go and should be ready to head out and get a job. And at the end of the day, trauma is going to continue to impact us well beyond that 30 or 90 days. We can't just flip that switch. And so when I think about a timeline for somebody to engage in recovery, it is so individualized. And our approach has to be that way. And I really appreciate the fact at the mission that there's not a one-size-fits-all. It's not a blanket time frame for people to work through things well here.
For our guests, the hope with their trauma being addressed is that they will continue to build support, that they'll continue to invite God and others into that place where they have hidden away their trauma. The goal is ultimately for them to know you're not alone in this, but there are also individuals from your Heavenly Father down through people to walk you and give you the relational support necessary to succeed.
I remember my first 30 and 60 and 90 days. It was literally struggling at times to just hour by hour not quit. One of the things that really helped me was staff members that would continually sit with me in times of need. They opened up their own lives. It wasn't just, Justin, how can we fix you? But really wanted to make a partnership. We're willing to walk this with you hand in hand till you're ready to be led by the Spirit of Christ in that journey. To understand that and feel love and trust for the first time that I found here at the staff of the Lighthouse Mission, to me, that was the beginning of my journey and my saving grace for myself.
We literally address the spectrum from nearly the beginning to the end. We work with people that are literally in camp still, all the way to the other end where we hope to see people out the door of our mission. The term I would use is that the success looks different for every one of our guests. But that success is something that is still measurable. And we can say we knew them when and we know them now. And the difference between those 2 points is significant.
When somebody leaves our programs at the mission, when they've finished the women's recovery program or our men's recovery program, there are a few things that tend to be kind of next steps for people. Oftentimes it includes housing, an apartment or a rental of some sort. There's also schooling or employment and engagement with the community.
If it weren't for the Agape home or the mission, I would be lost still. Knowing that I had the support and the help, it just all fell into place. It was amazing. I got a job a month after I moved in, so that was a big plus. I got housing, I got a car, we got out of there after a year that I was there with all the support from everybody there. You know, it was a tremendous weight lifted off of my chest. I had lost all faith, and I didn't know if I could go on daily. And when I put God first, going to church and just reading the Bible and made sure that He was first before anything, everything fell into place.
If you look at the secular programs, they have a success rate of about 5%. Our program currently has a 70% success rate. The only real difference between our program and a secular program is Christ. We use all the same methods. We use all the same interventions. We do it from a faith perspective. We don't force our faith on anybody. We just walk like Christians walk.
Well, the programs here at the Mission are always working to connect our guests with churches, with recovery groups, recovery houses, organizations that are going to help carry the ball or help our guests carry the ball to the end zone within their recovery life.
One thing that we found that when people are engaged with community and with relationships, healthy relationships outside of a treatment center or outside of a mission, they are much more successful long-term in their recovery journey. So whether that be with a sponsor, a mentor from church, a Bible study group, people that have come alongside them and are doing that independent of the mission, it can be super instrumental in that person's long-lasting recovery and healing journey.
Our main objective is to help create a network of support that will be successful for them outside of our mission family, with the understanding that we're here with you, though, should things fall apart. There is a way back as well, and that helps lower anxiety. And I believe it also sends the message that we love you beyond the ministry organization, right? We love you as brothers and sisters.
It built a solid foundation where I had unconditional love. So knowing that I had all this unconditional love in my corner, it made it easy when I left to mission, that no matter if I had a hard day at work or if I was scared, I was so scared being in my own place when I left. I was protected here within these walls, within these staff, within the other brothers that I was walking this journey with. But then at night when the lights go out in your own apartment, the thoughts, oh, no one knows, I can go do what I want again, is scary at times, right? But how do I position through that? Well, you know what? I called up a bunch of staff members here constantly, right? I had other brothers in the program that I shared with, you know, that knew what I was going through. They've been there, right? And to know that other people were walking and felt and knew exactly how I felt continued to just build my confidence. Sometimes it's day by day, it's week by week, and then the next thing, it's the years, right? Start coming through. It's got me 10 years, 3 kids, and a beautiful wife, and an amazing group of friends and relationships with my actual family again today. So I'm gonna stick with it.
Part of our language, the opposite of addiction, is connection. And I've seen how that has helped bring about a lot of healing for our men, where they no longer are craving escape through drugs or alcohol. They're no longer isolating out of anxiety or anger, because that community that they're building here becomes their new family. It becomes the place that they're finally realizing they belong. Our desire is they know that at any time they can continue to return and have community with us, that they can be a part of helping mentor and teach and coach and volunteer here at the Mission, so that they do not feel that once again it's them against the world.
If it wasn't for the Lighthouse Mission, I would have been in dire straits in Bellingham. I was in the program for about a year and a couple of months. Until September, I got my own place. I'm still very active in the mission because of how much I appreciate what they have done for me, what they're doing. I want what happened to me, other people to experience it. The mission helped me to see God in action. The mission helped me to be a part of what God is doing.
The work that we do is really never complete. So when someone graduates the recovery program, we look forward to those folks coming back and loving on the new folks that are in these programs that can be mentors to them. They can say, hey, I've been where you are. It's a continual relationship. You know, like we still care about you and we still love you. And the relationships that we develop with people, we look forward to having for a lifetime.
I've been connected with the Lighthouse Mission for about 12 years. A lot of those years were just in and out, right? Getting into the program and then, you know, just messing up again, going back out there like so many of us do. There was always a receiving and a loving that took place, and that's what kept me coming back. That's what gave me hope. That's what just kept me alive, you know? Now I've been on staff for about 4 years now. I actually started as a volunteer because when I left the mission and got housing, I wanted to do something. I wanted to give back and I wanted to help out. I felt that I had something to contribute. I wanted to do something here at the Lighthouse Mission.
If I didn't have the relationships that I had at the Lighthouse Mission, then I probably wouldn't be where I am. I'm really close to the neighborhood still, so I leave my house, I go down the street and I see all the love and the support that's going on there. That just makes my heart so happy because, you know I was there. My journey is not over, I can say that. Definitely not over. I have so much more that I want to accomplish.
When people ask me, why do you come to work? What has kept you here for, almost 15 years? I can say easily that it's the joy of seeing transformed lives. It's helped keep me closer to the Lord. It's helped me stay accountable to my walk with God, because it's like having backstage passes to God's grace. You see it. Call it restoration, call it transformation, call it being redeemed. It's a work that comes from Christ inward, outward. It's something that we as individuals can't do, but we get to be eyewitnesses to that, and that's an awesome thing.
I wish we could get the community to volunteer. They need to know firsthand what homelessness looks like, because it could be me, it could be you, it could be, so many different people here. And you don't know until you're there.
It's always been us and them, Even a lot of homeless folks that are out there think, well, this is us, man, this is our community, and they're they. But in reality, there's no difference. We all live in the same community. We're so closely knitted together, especially here in Bellingham. How could you distance yourself from someone that's so close? It is an amazing reminder of the relationship that we should have with those folks on the street.
It's so easy to make assumptions as to what to do in order to fix the problem. There's just a lot of fear and confusion around what homelessness is. It's a bit of a complex thing, though, in that if your goal is to say, well, I don't want to see these people, I don't like the way they behave, that's a legitimate upset, but that doesn't invite any kind of relational healing or human connectedness. So I would say for our community, come down, get a tour, spend an hour with us. Let us answer questions, right? We're not shy people. We hope to be people of hospitality.
We inhabit a neighborhood. We have to be good neighbors, and our neighbors have to be willing or have the margin in their own lives to be able to work with folks that, much of society looks down upon, rejects, or marginalizes. And so, some of the things we do to really support a neighborhood and the broader community is is offering educational opportunities to speak to the realities of homelessness and what's enabling somebody versus empowering somebody toward the flourishing life. It's bringing health, I should say, to a community. The Good Neighbor Project is our response to any neighborhood that we inhabit. So we want to make sure people have that relational connection with the mission. We have our neighborhood liaison engaging downtown businesses. Businesses are often impacted by homelessness. Customers might be scared if they see someone out front that looks rough. We do cleanups of alleyways in downtown Bellingham. We send out crews. We have our volunteers that are helping. We have guests that are helping sometimes as well. Clean up and clean off graffiti and pick up trash and be a blessing to the neighborhood overall. Not just for the homeless folks coming in our doors, but for those folks that are neighbors to an area. Good Neighbors also has a neighborhood advisory group. It's a really great group where stakeholders in the neighborhood can come in and voice concerns and troubleshoot and figure out solutions, and that's been a real benefit. And I find when people feel like they have a voice for their concerns, that really creates a greater level of acceptance and sense too of hope that, okay, I'm not alone in trying to keep my business safe. I can call up the mission and they'll send someone down to work with this situation. So you don't feel like you're just having to resolve these problems yourself. The mission has a lot of relationships with businesses, civic leaders, and with government to ensure that the services that we're offering are really meeting the need the best way possible. And we are privately funded, but we do sit in on all those meetings to really ensure that our community has a robust solution to homelessness.
This work can't be done in a vacuum. We have many partner agencies that we work with on a daily basis, and so those range from the GRACE program done by the county and the city that has community paramedics and intensive case managers and behavioral health specialists embedded at the police department. We also work a lot with the HOT team from the Opportunity Council and Opportunity Council caseworkers, Unity Care and CMAR's caseworkers. CMAR comes in and does a once-a-week free medical clinic at base camp that all of our guests access. We also work closely with Lake Whatcom Treatment Center and the Bellingham Housing Authority and emergency services in Bellingham. And not the least of our partners is the city and the county. It's a whole community coming together. It takes a village of support for any one of us to be successful, and that is true as well for people that access our services too. We're so grateful for those community partners and volunteers that choose to engage on a daily basis. We also try to make it really accessible for people to walk with and to engage with folks in our programs on a volunteer basis.
There's lots of opportunities to volunteer at the mission. It's just, it's been a really rewarding time that I've spent here, just to see the change in some people, being able to help and point them in the right direction. I just thank the mission for all they're doing there. The staff is great, and I'm so glad that I can help out.
Working here gives you opportunities to talk to people you may not have ever talked to. Sometimes you live a life, everyone around you is following the Lord, and you don't have any opportunities to talk to people that really need some help. And those are some of the strongest people I've ever met, because they've seen the worst in life. And now they're striving for the best in life.
One of the best ways to understand the issue of homelessness and really get your mind around it and kind of understand the complexity of it and what it takes is to rub shoulders with people. Volunteering is one of the strongest ways to get involved and have impact yourself on this very important and growing issue.
People can talk out the side of their necks all day long, but you know what? When people are actually moving their feet, then that's truth. That's where it needs to start. And it's got to start in our own backyard. And I feel like that's what Bellingham needs to start, to reach out. We need more people to advocate for the people that are hurting, that have mental disorders, that are struggling with the addiction. And it's not even that right now. We look at everything that COVID's done as well. Just people being able not to pay their bills and have become experienced homelessness from that now, not being able to pay rent and stuff like that, right? We gotta let our compassion and our empathy override our judgmentalness, because we're all in this together. And that's the truth of it. as humans, as a society, as a community, as a country, as a world. We need to work together.
We can't do this alone. We need our volunteers. We need our financial partners. We need all the other agencies partnering with us to continue to offer the services that we offer. Our people need the broader Bellingham community to know that they're accepted and valued in our community, and not just people to be, pushed off somewhere to not be looked at. We need everybody to be at the table, having the conversations that are necessary. We need everybody to move the needle on homelessness in our community. It can't just be a mission thing. We need everybody. I know there's a lot of suffering in this community. A lot of it's hidden away. We got a lot of beauty here. You got the mountains, the ocean, you got the breweries. You got all these things, right, that are awesome aspects of being in our community. But man, you scratch the surface on somebody, you see incredible pain out there. And it's visually seen in the people on the street. There's pain there, you know it. And we all experience it. We all try and escape in our different ways. I think our community, as it sees more life change occurring in people's lives, and there isn't just the escapes of the beauty of our area, you'll start to cultivate a sense of hope that things can be different. And hopefully, you'll get in on those things and experience some change in your own life too. Everybody flourishes when the least of these begin to flourish too. That's the hope.